Siddiq means the most believing and the most immediate to believe. When Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, when he heard something from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was no delay, there was no question, there was no waiting period. He believed it immediately.
Actually, the reference that we usually use is whenever the story comes about when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu heard, somebody came to him actually teasing, sort of giving him a hard time, saying, you know what your friend has said, and they're talking about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, claims that in the night that he went all the way from the closest masjid, which is Mecca, and all the way to Jerusalem in the same night. Now that was before we had jet airplanes, by the way, and went all the way there and back in the same night, plus went up into heaven, plus went up on a rock and rode a Baruch, was it?
The horse.
What's that, the horse called?
Winged horse. Barak.
Barak?
Burak.
Burak. I never saw one. But anyway, so he came and somebody's saying, you know what, your friend has said all these things. And you know what they said? Abu Bakr, he didn't even look up. He said, if he said it, he did it.
It's true.
If he said it, that's it. And when the Prophet ﷺ heard this, he gave him this title, as-Siddiq. Is it?
Mm-hmm. Siddiq.
Which means the one who is, like today you might say, the one who is putting the notary seal on a document. He verifies the truth. He's endorsing that. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now that we've been talking about the words and probably lost half the audience out there, we're going to come back right now. You're watching Islam Always, and we're always open 24 hours a day. And by the way, don't touch the dial because we've got more coming up right here, IslamAlways.com. And by the way, we have a new website. We want to invite you to take advantage of our free service there. It's called searchforislam.com. searchforislam.com. And go there and just type in any word that you're searching for. If you want to know about what about apostasy in Islam? Is there such a thing? What happens to somebody if they leave Islam? We've got an article. Just type in that word, apostasy, and see. Find out what is Islam saying about this interesting subject. Also, if you would like to know more about how to pray, make salat, you can type that word in as a keyword. Anything that you're looking for in Islam, just type it in there and let us know how you like it, by the way. Write to us at askislam@aol.com. And inshallah, we'll continue now with our subject. We're talking about taqwa, and we've said now pretty much the whole gamut of the thing. We ran through the subject of being conceived as a human being. We talked about growing up and becoming responsible, the mistakes we make, about repenting to Allah. Now we're in the subject of salvation. So, on the Day of Judgment, the person is now looking for any way to get out of the terrible condition they're in. They're going to have some of the Jewish faith who are going to be looking to their bloodline to be able to save them, because they are born as Jews, the chosen, and then they'll find out how effective that's going to be, right? Well, so I'm not Jewish, so I'm not really interested in that subject much anymore. The next thing I would look at, what about the Christian? The Christian is saying that, well, I'm going to be saved on the Day of Judgment based on what? And that is their belief that God had to become a man, came down on the earth, and then he walked around and did so and so, and then he has to go on a cross for them. And if they want to accept this idea, then they don't have to worry about whatever they did, because it's all going to be charged to their Savior on the cross. And that's pretty much what I used to teach as a Christian preacher. And now I want to come to exactly this subject for a Muslim. Is there any little something like a backup deal here, just in case my good deeds aren't really cutting it for me? And what if I made lots of mistakes, but is there something that's really good for me? And I think we already really touched on it, but briefly, how can I talk about what's the backup for the...
What we would ask Allah for, inshallah, and hope for all of us, is that we never have to visit the fire of hellfire for even a second, because a single day in there is like 1,000 years. And what we covered previously in Tawheed, we know that if we achieve this Tawheed and live by it, that our ultimate destination will be the paradise, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised the believers. However, if we fall seriously short in our actions, because you alluded a little bit, but we should stress at the beginning that one of the differences between taqwa and similar concepts in other religions and other teachings is that taqwa is very much amali, it's very practical. It has to do with action. Whereas other religions, when people wish to fool themselves, like you alluded to the Christians, it's devolved into nothing but a feeling. So piety is just a feeling you have toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whereas taqwa is much more than that. In fact, it's not even that. Because the root meaning of taqwa equally applies if someone is trying to hit you over the head with a stick, and you take your arm and you go like that. This is called taqwa. Alright, so it's very much practical. It has to do with, and you alluded to it, but it has to do with actions which will help you on this day that we're talking about. So if we are of the people of Tawheed and we keep ourselves free from all forms of shirk as much as, well, not the minor ones because they won't do that to us, but the actual shirk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we know our ultimate destination. But before that, there is nothing but A, our deeds, plus B, the mercy and forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the crime of shirk, or the transgression of shirk, Allah does not forgive it. He's given notice. This is not forgiven. Associating with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not forgiven. But then He said after that, and any transgression less than that, He will forgive it to whomever He wishes. So that is only our fallback. Our only fallback is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His forgiveness. And He overlooks much, as He said repeatedly, وَيَعْفُو عَنْ كَثِيرٍ.
Yes. Now, there's another point. For those who are more familiar perhaps with Christianity, familiar with the Bible, familiar with the teachings that we find in Christianity and Judaism, it looks like the first and foremost, the cardinal sin, the unforgivable blasphemy, according to the teachings of the Bible. We look at Exodus and chapter 20, Deuteronomy chapter 5, and what we find here is something that they usually refer to as the Ten Commandments.
Okay.
And the first commandment says, "Thou shalt not have any other gods beside me." And in this case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's talking about what? God is saying about this, don't make shirk. Mm-hmm. Basically what we said in Arabic, don't set up partners in worship with Allah. Now, it's interesting, some of the Christians said, well, that's in the Old Testament. Mm-hmm. As though it became cancelled. We've got two proofs against that teaching. Clearly, in the New Testament, if they want to look to their book, even in the English, what survives of their book today, they don't have the original, we know that, but even if they want to look to their book, and it's interesting, the Quran doesn't forbid Christians to look in their book. It doesn't. The Quran doesn't forbid a Christian to read his book. It just forbids him to say what's not in his book. Don't say 3. The Quran says don't say 3. And if they said, well, yeah, but, we don't accept the Quran. Well, what do you accept from your own book when your own book is saying God is one? Know, O Israel, the Lord your God is one Lord. And that's in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Know, O Israel, the Lord your God is one Lord. And again, they'll say, yeah, but that's Old Testament. Mm-hmm. So then you look in Mark chapter 12, verse 29, and look what you find here. You got Jesus, according to them, quoting out of chapter 6 in Deuteronomy, and they said, tell us, good master, what is the great commandment? What's the greatest commandment? And this happens to be somebody from Sanhedrin, or the Majlis Shura for the rabbis for the temple, and he's asking this question more as a leading question. What do you say is the great commandment? And he said, it is to know, O Israel. And he said, look how the effect is. The Old Testament says, say, O Israel. This one it says, to know, O Israel, the Lord your God is one Lord, and you